This is my first ever real YouTube video. I've made shorts, a ton of shorts. I've grown on different platforms, but this is my first ever full video. So I'm very pumped for it. And the reason why I wanted to make this video is that I feel like I'm kind of at day zero. So I've tried a lot of different things. I've tried different content businesses. I've tried freelancing in different ways. I've tried building products. And all of those businesses have kind of failed. I've learned a ton of skills along the way, figured out why they failed. But at the end of the day, they all failed. I haven't really made any meaningful traction. A lot of that initial effort is about trying different things, seeing what you like, seeing where your skills need to develop, and ultimately aligning on a vision that you can work towards moving forward. So really the point of this video is to document from day zero where I want to get to 10 years from now. So if you're watching this, you might be somebody who has aspirations of building a business, aspirations of building an empire. You want to watch somebody do that from really ground zero all the way up. What have I done so far to date? Really, I spent the last kind of 3 months posting short form videos, the majority of which I shot, filmed, edited myself as someone with no video experience. And I posted those on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. I'll throw up a graphic of kind of like where I'm at in terms of followers. Now with TikTok, I'm almost at 50K. That sounds like a lot to a beginner, but all I did was just post a video on weekdays for the last 3 months. Nothing really crazy, didn't have any hacks. I had a couple go viral, and that's kind of why I have a big following. But other than that, I'm kind of at zero, right? If you posted a video every single day around a topic you're interested in, you'd probably be around where I'm at now. What I want to do is outline where I hope to get to, kind of what my dream structure and business would look like 10 years from now. And then I'm going to work backwards and tell you the steps that I'm going to take to get there. I want to build a personal holding company. So what does that mean? It means an umbrella of 3 to 5 brands that either I started or I acquired, but I, the holding company, owns the majority stake or all of the equity in. Now, in order to do that, there's a couple things, a couple wrinkles that I want to add to create an optimal structure. So if you're looking at the visual, 3 to 5 brands with 2 unique pieces. The first is a foundational content engine. So what does that mean? Everything I've started around products, I've failed in the same area, which is I don't have distribution. I don't have an audience to sell those products to. So I can create the best product in the world. I can pay the best developers, the best designers, the best industrial engineers to build the coolest products. But if I don't have distribution to sell those products into, I'm cooked. The only way to get that audience, if you don't have it for free, is to run Facebook ads, Instagram ads, TikTok ads to acquire that audience. The reality is with the pricing, a lot of your unit economics will be upside down. And what I mean by that is if you make a $50 hoodie or you sell a $50 hoodie and it costs you $25 to make or $20 to make, but then you're paying $10 to $20 to acquire that customer. When it comes to shipping, returns, mistakes, product R&D, you're actually going to be upside down. You're going to be losing money on every single customer that you sell through. It's very difficult to grow a business when you have to pay to acquire customers. Also, those customers aren't sticky. Maybe they saw an ad on Instagram one time for one product, they click through and they convert on that one product. They have no brand loyalty. So what I realized over time is that it's critical that I build a loyal audience around a common topic that I can then use to feed the brands that I own for free. We'll get to how I'm going to do this, but the entire portfolio of the Holdco is going to be supported with free distribution, free traffic, free audiences from this engine that I built. The second thing I want to do is build a creative studio arm in the Holdco. So what does that mean? I'm really passionate about creative projects, everything around the creative process, storytelling. I love that stuff. What I want to build is a SWAT team of creatives that make the creative, make the videos, the content, the imagery, the product development. They do all the things for the brands in the Holdco, but they also act as an agency where we take on a super select number of clients where we do the creative for them. Why would you do that? The reason why is you don't want the creative agency to be a cost center, meaning you don't want to have to just pay those salaries for them to create creative for the products in the Holdco. That's a drag. That's taking profit out of the business, right? What you really want to do is sell enough of their work so that it's a net revenue generator, even if it barely breaks even, right? Again, to summarize, I want 3 to 5 brands that I really care about. Either I'll operate one or multiple of them, or I'll have operators in place. I want a foundational audience engine that's bringing distribution for free. Every time we have a new product launch, I can launch that to the engine and it will sell out because we have the audience. And then I want a creative studio that's responsible for making all the creative, so we don't have to keep farming that out, keep paying individual people to create individual pieces. That's kind of the ultimate vision. Before we move on, there's some core tenets of the personal holding company that I want to be true. This might not be what you want. This is what I want in the structure that I have, that I work on for the next 30, 40 years. So with everything I've said already, eventually I hope it's worth 100 million or more, the collective enterprise value of all the brands and the creative studio and the audience engine put together. I want $2 million per year in profit distributions for myself. And the rest of the profit will be rolled back in to double down on the growth. But I want to take a $2 million per year draw. I want a super lean team. I don't want a bloated organization. I want really, really smart and fun people that I want to be around, mostly creatives. I want every single person on that team to be world class at what they do. I want to provide generous equity upside for the team members. If I win, I want the team to win big. That's how we're going to get A player, athletes, the types of people that I want to be around into the organization. So that's the structure that I'll build in from the beginning. I don't want any outside investors. I want to do this whole thing myself. I don't need another boss. And then lastly, the plan is build a machine, keep compounding it, operate it for 40 years, and then I'll sell it or I'll pass it down when I'm bored or I'm dead. That's kind of the mission. This is the magnum opus. This is what I want to get to and focus all of my time on. Okay, so let's break down the step-by-step path that I think I can follow and I think I can execute against to get there. Where do I start, right? This is a pretty big, audacious goal. Let's assume I have no capital, which, I effectively don't. Let's assume I have almost no audience, and let's assume I have no skills. I just have ambition. The first thing I need to do is start building the audience, which means I need to start creating content that will be net complementary to eventually the type of audience I want to build. What does that mean? If I started creating content around fitness, but then all the brands, all the products I ended up building 5 years from now were CPG retail products that were apparel, unless they're fitness focused apparel, there wouldn't be a connection between the audience I built and the products I'm trying to sell. The further that divergence, the weaker the audience conversion will be. So I need to make sure the audience I'm crafting, the audience I'm cultivating is actually net complementary, if not directly tied to the broader vision, right? The angle I'm taking is I'm making content around the most interesting brands, products, movements, and trends in the world. So what does that mean? Anytime there's something cutting edge, anytime a new product launches, a new brand comes out, they're using new technology, VR, AI, Web3, I want to be the one that creates content around that. Why? Because I want people to think of me as a tastemaker for breaking brands. If you think of breaking news, there's a reporter that broke the story. I want to break brands. I want brands to come to me that want to work with me to help get their story out. People follow me because they think I have crafted a taste for what's cool and emerging, right? That's kind of where I want to play around the content. So the first thing I need to do is start creating content around that. Where do I start? In my opinion, the most valuable content right now is short form video. It's the most viral. It's the most engaging. People are obsessed with it. So what I need to do is start creating short form video content. And that's what I did exactly in that niche around interesting brands, stories, products, and movements. The way to think about which platforms to create the content for, I'm starting with TikTok, YouTube, and Reels because those are algorithmically driven, meaning they will surface my content to people that don't follow me. See, the problem with social media when you're starting at zero is that you have zero people to put your content in front of. It's very hard to grow. That's why it's really hard to grow audio podcasts. Nobody is given podcasts to discover via the audio feed, so no net new people will find them just by you posting. You have to drive people to it. So what do I want? I want algorithms to put my content in front of net new people that can then follow me and get into the audience funnel. So that's why I'm starting with TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram Reels. So that's one piece of it. I also have a weekly newsletter. Same thing. I'm curating interesting brands, trends, signals, that I'm putting that in a weekly newsletter. Why? Because if all social media shuts down tomorrow, I lose all of my followers. That's called a rented audience. If the email newsletter platform that I use to send out my emails, Beehive, if they shut down tomorrow, I have that list of emails that I can port over to something else. That's an owned audience. I want a combination of rented and owned because I can grow faster with rented, but owned is kind of stickier and durable. So I'm creating a weekly email. I'm creating short form video. I'm also creating these, we'll call like mid-form videos on YouTube. These are 5 to 10 minutes long, talking about my struggles, my growth behind the scenes, right? So it's kind of going to be a mix of those pieces. So the first thing I'm going to do is create that content. I'm going to build the audience. It's probably going to take a year for me to double down on that and grow it big enough where I can move to the next step, but that's what we'll do. So that's step one. Step two is once the audience is big enough, I can start monetizing that audience by going to other brands and having those brands pay me to either create short form videos about them, put ads in my newsletter about them, create affiliate revenue, etc. Step two is really to start monetizing the audience via, we'll call it basic monetization tactics, affiliate ads, brand partnerships, etc. So that's step two. Now, once that revenue starts flowing in, and it'll be small at first, $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 a month at first, I'll take that money and I will outsource the content load on my time to editors, writers, filmmakers, etc. Right? So the goal is take all of the content load that's currently on my plate and get that off my plate. So that's step 2 and 3. Monetize the content, then start outsourcing the content load. And basically what I've done is I create a loop. Every time I get more money in, I outsource that content, create more free time for myself to create more content, to bring more money in, to outsource more content. You start creating a loop. Every time I post a video, whether it's my idea or for a brand, I'm growing those channels, I'm compounding, I'm increasing my audience size, I'm allowing myself to make more money per post that I work with a brand on. That compounds the flywheel. So eventually that'll be big enough where I can start bringing on a couple more people. One will be a head of sales, we'll call it, which I hate that title, but that person's going to be responsible for seeking brands out for brand deals. Eventually my time will be the most constrained resource. I'm not going to be able to create the content, manage the outsourcing of the content editors, and reach out to brands all day to try to place ads and do sponsored posts. So I'm going to need somebody to help me with that. So I'll be able to pay that person. Potentially I'll need somebody for growth to actually grow the channels, right? All they think about all day is how do I grow the audience? At the end of the day, you're creating this audience engine, as I alluded to before. Create content, grow the channels, sell brand sponsorships, create more affiliate revenue. That spits off cash, which can feed the resources, right? It's this wheel. Maybe that'll take 2 to 3 years, right? Maybe I'm going to spend 2 to 3 years only on that. And that alone is a business that's viable for some people. There are a lot of internet creators that make $2 to $5 million a year just spinning that wheel. That's not where we're going to stop, but that's where some people stop. Eventually that wheel will be spitting off so much cash that it will not only cover the costs of all the people necessary to actually run it and free up my time completely, but it will be spitting off more cash. And that's when we're going to buy and or build our first brand. Because we have built that audience layer, it'll be a lot easier for that brand to be successful. We won't have to pay for customer acquisition. We've now built hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people that are following us because we're the ones that talk about interesting brands. All of a sudden we have an interesting brand of our own. Those people will convert, right? We spent years building that trust. Now they trust us. And that's exactly the flow that we want. So we'll launch that first brand. There'll be a lot of challenges along the way. Operating the first brand, we're going to figure out back office, and we're going to have to figure out how do we do product innovation, etc. But that's kind of the fun of it, right? Eventually that first brand will start working. It'll start growing. Maybe it won't spit off tons of cash, but it'll be at least break even, if not slightly profitable, while the engine, that content engine, the audience engine, is still spitting off tons of cash. So eventually we're going to look to buy our second brand or build our second brand. We'll put in somebody to run that first brand. That will kind of run on its own. So that first brand is going to have a lot of content needs. It's going to need video creative, product R&D, the website. It's going to need a lot of things that cost brands a lot of money. I don't want to have to pay that every single time. I'd rather build a team that makes it and then offset that team's cost some way. So at this time, we'll hire 2 to 3 creatives to kind of build that initial foundation of the creative studio, and they'll create all the creative for the first brand and the second brand, and maybe some creative for kind of that content engine as well. At that point, it'll be an inflection point. It'll be tough in the business cycle. It might be 4 or 5 years in, but it's going to be tough because we're going to have multiple brands going. We're going to have the content brand going. We're going to be trying to spin up the creative studio. It's going to be very hard to keep that all in motion. But if we're able to do it, that creative studio eventually will take on a couple clients and it will break even on its own. The second brand, the first brand, will have free traffic, they'll have free creative, and it'll be very easy to get those to succeed. So once that happens, we're gonna run that playbook a couple more times. We'll acquire or build a couple more brands, and there you go. That's kind of the path to go from nothing to this 3 to 5 company, $100 million holdco.